Maharashtra. I have a 6 years of experience as a .NET full stack developer with Angular. And my technical stack, I have worked on ASP.NET MVC, ASP.NET Web API Core, C#, .NET, Entity Framework, LINQ, SQL Server. In front end, I have worked on Angular, CSS, HTML, JavaScript, jQuery. I have worked on Azure DevOps, CI/CD pipeline creation, release pipeline creation, and we are following Agile methodology.
Okay. And which Angular version are you working on?
Currently, Angular 13 I'm working.
Okay, good. Okay. So how we can start then? We can start with very basic OOPS concept first, and as you proceed with the interview, we can move to some advanced topics as well.
Okay, fine.
So is that okay for you?
Yeah, fine.
Okay. So starting with the OOPS, can you please tell me what is the difference between aggregation, association, and composition in OOPS?
Aggregation, association.
And composition, what is the difference between them?
Aggregation and composition. I was read about it, but I'm not able to recollect actually.
Okay. What are solid principles?
Yeah, solid principle. S stand for single responsibility principle. O stand for open close principle. L stand for reverse substitutional principle. Interface segregation principle, and D for dependency inversion principle.
What is this substitution principle?
It's like a higher level subtype, higher level model. Their subtype of child can be replaceable. The parent level class. Suppose we have parent class A, and that derived into the class B. Okay, and whenever I'm trying to create a class B object, suppose A obj, B obj equal to new A, means the A object can directly replaceable by the B object, B instance of class.
Okay. And what is open close principle?
Open close principle means open for modification but close for means doing updation on same method.
So open for modification means, are you sure is it open for modification? Or is it open for extension?
Open for extension, close for modification. Sorry. Yes.
Okay. So let's suppose let's take a real-time example. Okay. So let's suppose I have a seed class. I'm using a third-party library in which I have a seed class. I'm using that class. And due to some business requirements, I want to extend the functionality of that class.
Okay.
So how can we do that?
So for that purpose, we are using extension methods. Using that, we can extend that class, means whatever. So we'll create one static class. Under that one static method we'll create. From that static method, first argument will pass as a this space that class name. Then that method will work like the child class method.
Okay. And what is a delegate in C#?
Delegate is a reference pointer. Okay, it's a type shape. Using the method reference of the method is calling that method, and it's using for the event binding.
How many types of delegate do we have in C#?
There are a multicast delegate, single cast delegate.
The difference between that?
Difference between the means from the single cast delegate we are calling only one method, and from the multicast method we are calling multiple methods.
Okay. Before telling me the difference, can we pass delegate as a parameter to function?
Can we pass parameter as a delegates?
Not parameter as a delegate. Delegate as a parameter to a function.
No, I think so. I'm not sure about that, but maybe not.
Okay. What is the difference between action, function, predicate?
Yeah. So func will return only one record. Okay. And predicate will return multiple records. And one more is there.
Action,
yeah. So that is also returning one record.
Then what is the difference between action and func if both return one record?
Yeah, actually I read about it, but not able to recollect this moment. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What is a multicast delegate?
multicast delegates. Okay. Multicast delegates. No, sorry, not able to recollect that definition.
What is generic in C sharp?
Generic means as whatever parameter type of parameter we are passing, that method become means that method output or method become like that, means it's using via angular bracket t. Under that, suppose I have declared as a I am passing one method declared as a t, and I'm passing as a output parameter at the integer. So that generic will return me as an integer parameter. If I pass any model, it will become as a model. So it's like it's converting, it's doing typecasting of uh, that variable by itself. Okay, no need to extra typecasting we have to do. And we have a predefined generic like a list, dictionary.
Okay, so why generic? Why not we use object? Like, what are the advantages of generic over object?
Yeah, so object means if we are declaring under object, if you want to store the any value type, then we need to do the typecasting there, right? So, because object is a reference type. So, and if suppose we are with generic we'll do, the typecasting is not required.
How much year of experience do you have in total as of now?
How much? Sorry, come again.
How much year of experience do you have? How much experience do you have
6
as of
years.
now?
6 years.
Okay, 6 years. Okay. Okay, let's take one real-time example. Let's suppose I have a project and in which I am having multiple classes. Let's suppose 10 classes named as class 1, class 2, class 3 up to class 10.
Okay.
Okay. So what I want, like due to some functionality, what I need to do, I need to create a method which takes an class object and performs certain operation on that. For example, public void method, and inside method class 1 op and perform certain operation on this object, right?
Okay.
I want to do it for certain classes like class 1, class 2, class 3,
Okay.
for certain classes. So what I did, I created a generic method t.
Okay.
So for example, like public void method and inside t and ob. And then you can pass the things because the operation is same that I need to perform on both all the classes. But the problem is, if it is t, I can pass any class object. I can pass class 4, class 5, class 6 object as well. I want to restrict it only for 3 classes only.
Okay.
Because if it is t, then we can pass any class object, right?
Wow.
So can I do it by using generic? Can I restrict it? Or is it any better way to do that?
Okay. In generics, we can do it the better way. So like no, sorry, I haven't gone through this scenario.
No issues. Mention any two design pattern of your choice on which we can discuss. Any two.
I have worked on Singleton design pattern. Okay. But second one is I have exposure on factory design pattern, but I'm not able. We don't get a chance to work on it.
Okay, so Singleton factory, right?
Yeah.
Any two. If you want to change it, that's fine for me. Any two of your choice.
Yeah, it's factory and Singleton.
Okay, so what is Singleton?
Singleton means overall of the using that classes only we are using one instance to use that class. Okay. And using that one instance only we'll check if that instance is available for that class or not. Then if it's not available, then we'll create that instance for that class. If it's available, we are using that instance only.
Okay, why Singleton? Why not static classes?
Static classes means it is creating on static class on compile time only, it creating the instance for that, okay. And memory allocation also happen over there, but uh, in a uh, in a singleton class we are checking if it's instance is available or not, then we are creating, means we need to create the instance manually there.
No, like okay. As per my understanding, multiple instance means multiple copy of a data, right?
Multiple copy of.
Multiple copy of a data. Multiple instance means multiple copy of a data, correct? We are creating multiple
Yes.
instance of any class. That means we are creating multiple copy of that data. Okay.
Yes.
So in singleton, we have only one copy of the data. That is, we are having one class. In static, we are not able to create any object. That's why we have only one copy of the data. Correct? So both are similar, not same. Then why we are creating singleton class? Why to go with singleton if we already have a static class provided by Microsoft? That I want to understand. Why
Yeah,
singleton then?
means we singleton we can't inherit, and singleton is a sealed class, so
Okay, so singleton class has already contains a private constructor, correct?
yes, yes.
Then why shield is required?
Yeah, if you require private, then singleton is not required. Sorry, sealed is not
No,
required.
your answer is correct. Your the singleton class should be sealed class.
Yes,
It's
yes.
actually should be not required. It should be, but why? I want to like answer is correct. I don't say it's wrong. It should be a sealed singleton class. Should be a sealed class,
Yeah.
but I will need an explanation for that. Like why it is. It's important.
It's
Why singleton class should be a sealed class.
for means the class should not get inherit, because of that we are using sealed
But we
class.
already have a private constructor, so we are not able to inherit the class.
Yeah.
Because basic of inheritance is the base class constructor should be accessible to the child class, right?
Child
So
class,
we have a
yes.
private constructor. That's why we like are not able to inherit the class. Then why sealed?
Okay, no, not sure about that, what
Okay.
difference.
In JavaScript, like what is the difference between null and undefined?
Null and undefined.
Uh-huh.
Undefined means there is no memory, means the allocation happens for that variable, okay. So null means that value of that variable is null, but undefined means nothing is allocated to that variable, means, yeah.
Okay. So if I write null double equals undefined, then what will be the output? And if I write null triple equals undefined, what will be the output?
So null equal to undefined means it is a false, both are not equal, and triple also equal to it will false only, both are not equal.
Okay. So what is the difference between double equal and triple equal then?
Double equal is matching the records, okay. When triple equal matching their variable type with their record.
What is a promise in JavaScript?
Promise means whenever we have to execute any service files or HTTP request, we have to execute, then we are using promise.
Okay. And what is a closure?
Closure. Closure. No, sorry, not able to be closure.
Okay, no issues. Yeah, what is NAN in JavaScript?
NAN.
NAN, yes. What
Yes.
is NAN in
NAN
JavaScript?
means not readable format. Means suppose in a arithmetic operation we are doing, okay, and that is not returning any proper conversion, then the output become as a NAN.
Okay. What is a strict mode in JavaScript and how we can enable it?
Strict mode.
Yes, strict mode in JavaScript.
Strict mode. Oh, no, sorry, not.
Okay. You worked on Angular 13, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what is IV compiler in Angular?
IV compiler.
Yes, it is there from Angular 9.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I read about it, but not sure. What is that?
Okay, no issues. Okay, what is AOT?
What is, sorry?
AOT, AOT. What is
AOT means
AOT?
ahead of time compiler. It is
Uh-huh.
whenever it's a means it's a compiling the code and storing it in bundle files, and using the bundle files we are accessing the application.
Okay. And how we can pass the data in Angular between two components?
Using parent to child, we are using at the rate of input, and parent to child to parent, we are using at the rate of output using event emitter. And
And suppose if there are no parent-child relationship between the
yes,
components, then
so we are creating a service files. There we are using subject. Under the subject, the service file will add the value to the subject from the one component to the service, and that service the another component will access and receive that value from the subject.
okay. What is the difference between ng on init and constructor in Angular?
Constructor we are using to declare the services, means whatever injecting services we are declaring the variable of that services. And ng on init means it's a life cycle hookup component. So it on time of DOM rendering, the ng on init get render is
Okay,
execute.
which will call first? Like is constructor is calling first or ng on init is calling first?
First will constructor get called.
So what is HTTP interceptor?
Whatever request coming into the application, that will go with the go from the HTTP interceptor. Means it's a first whatever request and response coming to the application will, if any operation we have to perform on that request, then HTTP interceptor will can use. Means it's a every request will hit the HTTP interceptor.
Okay. What what is an lazy loading implementation and how we can implement it in Angular?
Lazy loading implementation means any module on request basis we have to load with their respective module and the respective components under the browser. On that time we are using lazy loading. Using the under the routing table we are using load children's, and under that load children's we are assigned that ng module path. So on request basis that will get load into the browser.
Okay. What is a route guard in Angular?
Auth guard means suppose any URL we want to authenticate, means without authenticate that URL not get access. On that time we are using auth guard. So we can use like under the router table we are using path and can active auth guard.
Okay. Okay. And you have experience in entity framework.
Yes.
So what is the difference between INumerable and iQueryable in entity framework?
Yeah. So INumerable is derived from I collection namespace, and it's a retrieving the records on a memory and then applying the filters. Okay, but iQueryable it's a applying the filters and then pulling the record in the memory. iQueryable is a
Okay.
yeah.
Other than this, any other difference?
iQueryable you see, it's a wrap. INumerable is a wrapper around the iQueryable, and it support for the lazy loading, like pagination and all. We can use a queryable, but
Okay.
INumerable is not supporting lazy loading. It's a eager binding we are doing, and queryable is doing lazy binding.
What are the various entity states supported by entity framework?
Various entity checks.
States. What are the various entity states supported by entity framework?
State means approach. You are saying code first, database.
No, that's an approach. I'm asking about what are the various entity states supported by entity framework.
Various states Maybe I use, but the naming convention I'm not.
Okay, no problem. So let's in entity framework, what we do, we add an entity, we update an entity, and then we call save changes method. Correct?
Yeah.
To commit the changes. So how this save changes method know which operation to perform on which entity? I want to understand how this save changes method works internally. How it will know that what operation to perform on which entity.
Means save changes will work as a commit command, okay, from the database. So any update or insert updation we have did, and the
But there
respect.
is some tracking mechanism that it
Yes.
should do that. Okay, I need to perform updation on this entity. I need to perform deletion on the entity or insertion on data and
Yeah. So
this entity.
yeah, before of calling the under the unit of work, we are calling and updating that table, right? Using that unit
Mhm.
of work only, the connection will be there, and that only we are doing dot save changes. So the proper
But what is the tracking mechanism? Like how it will know that okay, I need to perform insertion on this particular entity.
tracking mechanism, I'm not sure about that mechanism name.
Okay, actually it's the states. If you are added, so entity states will be added. The
Okay.
entity states is either added, deleted, modified, detach, attach. So that's a way save
Okay.
changes know that okay, which operation it want to perform. Okay, how entity framework supports transactions?
Support transactions.
Like how does entity framework supports transactions?
Yeah, so on whenever we creating the entity file, the respective DB context file get created. Under the DB context file, we have a DB sets. Under the DB sets, the respective data model and the respective properties are there. Their respect and the mapping of that table and everything is there in under that DB set proper entities. From there, the relation is we are get to know that.
Do you experience in code first approach or DB first approach?
DB first approach.
Okay, so what is a DB set?
DB set means it's a holding the single table properties within entities within.
Okay, and
And
how SQL is made in entity framework?
SQL made in entity framework. So
Yes, we write lambda or LINQ queries in entity framework, and then it's converted internally in SQL, right? So
yes,
how
yes.
it will do?
It will call respective if you are executing on a DB context. So it will context dot the respective table name, and based on the table name, it's retrieving their respective properties, attributes, whatever we have mentioned in that model.
Okay. What is the purpose of async await keyword?
Async await for asynchronous call, we are using async await using the
Right.
yeah. So using the task
But
get.
what is the purpose? Like, what is the purpose of await, and what is like? Okay, one is the like we are using for asynchronous method, but how it will work internally? How like await knows that okay, I need to wait for this particular operation for this much time. How it will know?
Yeah, so whenever we are declaring async method, there we are declaring task. Okay, so task based async await. So whenever we are using await under that method, so
Mhm.
task is wait get sleep for that completion of that method. Okay, and
And
the
what is the difference between task and a thread?
uh, task and thread. Uh, the proper difference, I'm not sure.
Okay, let's suppose I'm calling a synchronous method, like I'm using a third-party library which provide a sync implementation. So I'm calling a synchronous method, but forget to put await with that. So what will be the how the application will behave?
Sorry, come again.
I'm calling a synchronous method, but forget to put await with that.
Okay.
So how what will be the output? How application will behave? in that scenario?
On that point, it will give the warning like async is used, but
Okay,
wait is
but we
not.
are still with warning. We are able to like run the
Yes, yes.
application, right? So what will be the behavior of the application that I want to understand?
So it will work like a traditional way only. Okay, it will.
Are you sure? Because in traditional way, we are waiting for that particular method to complete, and then we can go to the next line.
Yes.
This is a traditional way, right?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
I'm not sure, but maybe
Okay. And in SQL Server, what are indexes?
indexes to store records in a table means in a formatted way. There are two
Hmm.
types of indexes: cluster index and non-cluster index.
Correct.
Cluster index we can have a primary key, and non
Okay, and how non-cluster index works internally?
internally it will work as a logical way. It gets stored in a logical way, like
What do you mean by logical way?
logical means whatever. Suppose the foreign key is a non-cluster index, right? So the the another table primary key is a this table foreign key. So it's a logical store of that table variable here.
Okay.
Table, sorry.
What is a cross join?
Cross join means it's a comparing the record one record by the uh, all the record of the second table. Means one too many.
Okay, so if I like have two tables and I have three records in first and four records in second,
Yeah,
then how many records are there in the output?
uh, for 12 records.
Okay. Let's suppose I have duplicate records in my table due to some bug or due to like some issue in my application.
Yeah.
So how can I delete the duplicated records from the table?
Okay. So using group by we can group by that records, and using having if having greater than